and everywhere can see for yourselves that this morning the search for Alhaji and Alhaji is adorned by pictures of great men and women of Africa. See Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. You can see Patrice Lumumba of the Congo. You can see Winnie Mandela and many more. What all of these people have in common is that they lived and fought for our people, the people of Ghana and Africa, to be able to choose their own leaders in freedom. All the great men and women of Africa, including Toussaint Louverture, including Amilcar Cabral, including Nelson Mandela, including Martin Luther King, lived and died so that our people can freely elect their own leaders. We cannot disrespect these leaders of ours. We have a duty to continue the battles which were waged by Sergeant Ajete, Corporal Atipo, Jenkrejewu, Kodobotio, and others. It is our responsibility to carry this battle on till its very logical conclusion. The struggle for our independence was a struggle to liberate us, to enable us to choose our own leaders freely and in a democratic atmosphere. Nobody, no institution, no power can deny the people of Ghana the right to elect their own leaders and freely. And this is a message which has to go to everybody. We are ready to become the new Kwame Nkrumahs of Africa. We are ready to become the new Amilcar Cabrals of Africa. We are ready to become the Martin Luther Kings of the United States of America. And no force can stop that. Those who are dreaming dreams of behaving like Emperor Bokassa, those who are dreaming dreams of becoming the Idi Amins of our world, those who are dreaming dreams of becoming the new colonial enterprise must shake themselves out of their sleep. Because if they don't, the people of Ghana and the people of Africa will wake them up from their sleep and they will see the reality. And the reality is that all of our people insist on their right to elect their leaders freely, without let or hindrance. I want anybody here or anywhere in the world to show me one institution and one person who disagrees that this election results are flawed. There's none. And I mean it. The Electoral Commission itself has made 6 changes to the initial declaration. If the declarations are correct, why do they keep making changes every day to the results that they themselves declared? Today, as we speak here, the gazette done by the Electoral Commission is so full of errors, and I boldly predict that that is also going to change. So the Electoral Commission itself admits that something is wrong with the results that they declare, even the Electoral Commission. The New Patriotic Party, which claims to have won the election itself, is saying that there are so many things wrong with the election results. The New Patriotic Party has self-noticed that it is going to contest 7 of the parliamentary results declared so far. 7, not 1, not 2, not 3, 7. So we have a situation where everybody agrees that these results are not correct, including the Electoral Commission itself and the New Patriotic Party. Now, if all of us agree that these election results are not correct, why are we quibbling? Why are we dancing around and fooling around? Well, we should confront the truth. And I hear our brothers and sisters of the New Patriotic Party always saying that, oh, they should go to court. They should go to court. And they should go to court. Have they gone to court? Because they're also telling us that they have problems with 7 constituencies. Have they gone to court? No. And if they haven't gone to court, what moral authority do they have to be calling people to go to court when they themselves are refusing to go to court? I think we should all get one thing clear. The 1992 Constitution, which is the fundamental law of Ghana, says that all the people of Ghana have a responsibility to resist any attempt to subvert the Constitution. And the Constitution does not tell us that when people subvert the Constitution, we should go to court. It doesn't say so. It says we should do everything and anything in our power to resist oppressors' rule and to ensure that this Constitution is never subverted. The Constitution itself tells us that every other law in this country, including laws passed by Parliament, are inferior to the Constitution. The Constitution says very clearly that every other law is inferior to the Constitution itself. So CI community is inferior to the Constitution. And the Constitution's injunction on us is that anytime anybody, any force tries to subvert the Constitution, and subverting the Constitution primarily, we should begin to understand that clearly. Now we are being told that anybody who thinks that there is something wrong with the election should bring the evidence. Now the people who talk like this, where have they been this last 2 weeks? I mean, it's as if they've been in cuckoo's land somewhere. They are not listening to radio, they are not watching television, they are not reading newspapers, and they themselves have heads filled with straw. That's what they are telling us. Because over the last 2 weeks, the evidence is everywhere. Everybody has been saying it. I have said my part. Even the Electoral Commission itself has been providing evidence that it didn't do a good job. Anytime the Electoral Commission changes its declaration, it is providing evidence that it didn't do a good job. Anytime the New Patriotic Party says it has problems with the results of the election, it is providing evidence. Why? On this very station, Pan-African Television, which is not endowed with the best mathematicians in the world, we simply took the declaration of the Electoral Commission and added the percentages. And it was more than 100%. What evidence do you need again? That the EC can actually declare the results in excess of 100%. And he said you need evidence. You know, it is my friend ABA Fuseni who have been saying that, look, if the person is pretending to be asleep, if he is pretending to be dead, no matter what you do, you can't wake the person up. These people are pretending to be dead. They are not dead, they are awake. Election results, which amounts to more than 100%, is an impossibility. It can never happen. If it happens, it means something is gone wrong. You don't need any more evidence to prove that. Why? If you count election results in any polling station, in any constituency, in any district, in any region, and the number of people who voted are more than the number of people who registered, it means that some magic has happened there. Something magical has happened, something which defies logic, something which defies sense has happened in that constituency. What evidence do you want again? So this foolish talk, absolutely foolish talk of provide evidence in the face of the evidence is only meant to muddy the situation. And only those who have no respect for the Ghanaian people can be saying those things. Because if you accept that the people of Ghana can think, if you accept that the people of Ghana know the truth and can find the truth, if you accept that the people of Ghana can do simple mathematics and so on, You would not stand in front of them and tell them that no evidence has been produced when you yourself are raising the evidence like a placard. What is this? You know, this election is like no other in my life. And I dare say it's like no other election in Ghana. From 1951 to today, we have never had an election like this. Now, why do I say so? There is an election. It is finished. Some people have been declared winners. They cannot even jubilate. And those who have been declared losers are not worried at all. In fact, they are being energized every day. What an extraordinary election. This is an extraordinary election by any standard. Look, since 1951, this is perhaps the only election that we have held that everybody, including the Electoral Commission, agrees that there is something fundamentally wrong with this election. This is the only election which we have held in which the laws of Ghana have been trampled under the feet of an incompetent, reckless, I choose my own words, electoral administration. And listen, when the Electoral Commission, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission came to declare the results, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission told all of us that there is only one result outstanding. Only one. And that if they added all those votes in that constituency to the votes of the presidential candidate of the National Democratic Congress, it will not make any difference. Soon after that, the Electoral Commission came to us and said, oh, we are very sorry. We forgot to add the votes from another constituency. So, please. So, the question is, if you add the total votes in these two constituencies to President John Dramani Mahama, would that change anything? That's the question. The question is, or the supposition is, that when the Electoral Commission told us that there was only one constituency outstanding was a lie. Clear lie. Now, was it a deliberate lie? Was it a mistake? Whatever it is, it affected the results which were announced on that day. December 9th. It affected it in substantial ways. Then the Electoral Commission continued to make changes in its own declaration. And every time it made changes in its own declaration, it told us that, oh, as for the percentages, they will remain the same. How do you change unequal figures, and the percentages remain the same? The only way percentages can remain the same is if indeed all of them had the same additional votes. 10 to John Dramani Mahama, 10 to Nana Akufo-Addo, 10 to Ivor Green Street, 10 to Kominini and Kominini. But if the votes that were being added were unequal and even and so on, how do you come to the same percentages? You know, the other time I was having a conversation with my friends, and I remember a world famous magician. I'm sure some of you know that magician, Houdini. Our Electoral Commission has beaten Houdini to the game of magic completely. Because everything they have done defies logic. It doesn't make sense. Mathematics doesn't quite answer anything that they've done. All kinds of science cannot lead us to the conclusions that this Electoral Commission is making. And look, right now, where we are today, my brothers and sisters, I can tell you honestly, from the bottom of my heart, and I speak honestly, where we are today, all of us should be working for de-escalation of political tensions. Because if we do not work for the de-escalation of political tension, this country will be in serious trouble. What happened in other countries leading to war turns into insignificance if you compare that to what is happening in Ghana today. And that is why our political leaders have to be sensible. And that is why our political leaders have to watch their mouth and what they say. Over the last 1 week, I've been thoroughly disgusted by statements attributed to senior political figures in our country. I have sat on television and watched prominent politicians threatening to burn down the house of Mr. Gbevlo Latte, Lieutenant Colonel Gbevlo Latte, former head of national security, and threatening to burn him to ashes, and threatening to burn former President John Dramani Mahama alive. Where in this world would these statements be tolerated except in banana republics? I cannot believe it. That in Ghana today, people can sit on television and claim and proclaim that they will burn a former president alive and that they have surveyed and know where his house is. They can tell Gbevlo Latte that we know your house is in East Legon. We know where it is. We'll burn it down and so on. And nothing happens. What kind of country are we building? Is this the kind of country that Kwame Nkrumah fought for? No. And I've heard another leading politician sitting on television and saying that the people of Ashanti should locate the houses of NDC members and get ready to attack them, to kill them. And our security services said they have never heard this. They don't know about it. We are heading towards Armageddon. We are heading towards Armageddon. If our leaders refuse to think, and if our leaders focus all their energies and attention on how to grab power and keep it forever, our leaders must know that nobody has succeeded in seizing the people's power and keeping it forever. It will never happen in Ghana. It has never happened anywhere in the world. It will never happen. It is only daydreamers who think that they can hang on to power forever. It is not possible. And these blatant threats of murder, of acid, and so on will do no good to the MPP, it will do no good to the NDC, and it will do no good to members of other political parties. And all of us have to come together to fight, to struggle, to restore sanity in our country, to build that new country in which mad men and women will not be allowed television space to be threatening to kill and to burn. This country has come to a point where our men and women, our youth and adults, our aged and the young, have to stand up and be counted in the effort to restore sanity to the nation. Because if we don't, what are we going to get? Already, our people are struggling, our people are suffering under truly burdensome conditions. This month, the price of petrol has been increased again. This month, we are being told that free water supply has come to an end, even though COVID has not died yet. You understand? And we are hearing stories of what goodies were presented to the security services. And whether or not they have been withdrawn or not, it's there for all of us to know. There are so many of our people who have no access to good drinking water. There are so many of our people who have no access to the kind of education our leaders enjoy for their children. Let's not add more suffering to the suffering that they are already enduring. And the only way to do that is for us to demonstrate respect for ourselves. You know, all these organizations, name them, NGOs, religious bodies and so on, they are all calling for peace. Fine, that is what they want, peace. They don't care about justice, no problem, they want peace. Let them talk about peace. They all want peace. They said, let us bring about peace and so on. How do we bring about peace if we are not showing respect to each other? The other day, I heard of one of the leaders of the political parties actually refer to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, former president of the Republic of Ghana, as a cry baby. Cry baby. How do you negotiate with a cry baby? How do you have discussions with a cry baby? So if he's a cry baby, then let him continue crying like a baby. And let us see what is likely to happen in this country. Look, I've seen many dictators in my lifetime. Seen many dictators in my lifetime. Not once did I hear or read that Emperor Bokassa of Central African Republic had banned demonstrations in the capital, Bangui. Not once. Not once did I hear that Idi Amin had banned demonstrations in Kampala. Now, we have come to the destination where we are banning demonstrations. We are banning the right of citizens to free expression. My goodness. I pity my friend. I pity my friend. I truly, really pity my friend, His Excellency Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Nana, please don't allow anybody to send you off on this note of banning demonstrations. It doesn't fit your profile. It doesn't fit anything that any Ghanaian thought you were. If at the end of your term you are banning demonstrations, it's a huge blot on everything you've done before. And that's why I feel very sad for you. And that's why I feel extremely sad for you. Is this how Nana Akufo-Addo is going to end? And I think that, look, it is important for Nana Akufo-Addo to stand up himself and be counted, even in his party, to demonstrate to the hawks in his party that is not what they want him to look like. And that he's not going to tolerate a situation where his friends and members of his party are calling for the killing of others and the burning of others and so on. Nana Akufo-Addo must stand up to be counted. Not all of his integrity is lost. He still has some left. He still has some integrity left. And it is his duty to himself and to his family to redeem what is left. Where we are going is dangerous. It is terrible. It is heinous. It is all the adjectives you can find in the world which point to a bleak and dangerous future for all of us in Ghana. Look, there are some machinations going on. And everybody looking at what is happening can tell what is intended. This game of I got 1, you got 2. Oh no, add 2 to 1, add 4 to 5, and so on. Going on about parliamentary seats is disgraceful in the extreme. Because it simply shows how badly the New Patriotic Party performed in the last elections. With a majority of more than 60 votes, they are now doing add 1. No, subtract 2. No, 1.5, and so on. What has happened? A tsunami has taken place in our country. Tsunami has already taken place in our country. That is what this indicates. But everybody can tell that all of these machinations, how do they say machinations, are about who the new Speaker of Parliament would be. And to my shock, utter shock, I heard a very prominent member of the New Patriotic Party actually saying that, oh, if we manage to retain the majority up to January 7th, then we can elect the Speaker. And after January 7th, even if the courts decide that we don't have the majority and we are in the minority, we will still have the Speaker. Because the regulations in Parliament say that to remove the Speaker, you need 2/3 of the votes in Parliament. Who thinks like this? Who thinks like this? Only a criminal can think like this. Because anybody thinking like this is actually plotting to steal the mandate of the people. If you know what the mandate of the people is, and you are trying to reshape the mandate so that you can elect a speaker and so that you can apply the law to keep the speaker there in spite of the people's wish, you are nothing but a bloody thief. You are worse than the thief who steals cassava. You are a criminal. The thief who steals the fowl in the village and so on is a small thief. The thief who steals the mandate of the people is a huge, big thief. How can you be thinking like that? And in any case, who told them that the regulations of Parliament are sacrosanct? And that the regulations of Parliament supersede the national constitution? Who told them that? You know, we're all hearing this mantra of go to court, go to court, go to court, as if the court is the final destination of everything. It is not true. I tell you today that the judiciary is not the final destination or the final arbiter in all disputes. Sovereignty still resides in the people of Ghana and not in the institutions established by the people. When the people establish institutions, they establish those institutions because all of us cannot go and sit in Flagstaff House and become president. You can't have 30 million presidents. So we decide to have one. And we give that president our mandate, our sovereignty, to act on our behalf. At any time, any day, if that president is not acting according to what we wish, we will sack that president. It is our right. That is why the Constitution itself has provisions for impeachment in the Constitution. Look, all of us cannot sit on election petitions. You can't construct any meeting place where 30 million people can go and sit and advocate on election petitions. That is why, in our wisdom, we wrote a constitution in which we said the Supreme Court must do that on our behalf. So when the Supreme Court pronounces judgment, it is doing that in our name and on our behalf. The Supreme Court does not have any powers or any authority beyond the authority that we give to the Supreme Court. And at the theoretical level, let's get this thing straight. Tomorrow, if the majority of the people of Ghana so wish, we can begin processes which actually remove some of the powers of the president, of parliament, and of the Supreme Court. The Constitution gives us that right. If we can garner two-thirds majority in a referendum, we can change the judiciary. If we can garner two-thirds majority in a referendum, we can change the supreme law of the land, which is even the Constitution itself. You understand? So let nobody begin to think that because they have been appointed to public places of authority and so on, they can begin to play God. Nobody will be allowed to play God in Ghana. Nobody will be allowed to play God in Ghana. And all of us, including the truck driver, including the Okada rider, including the watchman, including the policemen and so on, all of us know what is fair and we know what is unfair. And we expect the institutions that we have set for ourselves to be fair. And we expect the institutions that we have set for ourselves to seek justice. To seek justice for everybody and anybody. You know, our security services have come under intense scrutiny and sometimes condemnation. But I think it is important for us to be fair to our security services. The police, the armed forces, the customs and excise, they are populated by people like you and I. They are not different from us. Their verdict has also been stolen. It is not only our verdict that has been stolen, their verdict has also been stolen. So they are not our enemies. They are indeed our friends. They are not just our friends, they are our best friends, and they have demonstrated it. Throughout the elections, all the fake policemen and soldiers who were caught, who caught them? Did you catch them? You didn't. They were caught by policemen and soldiers. Those policemen and soldiers who caught these fake policemen and fake soldiers and so on, they are like you and I. They are not on the side of oppression. They are on the side of liberty. They are on the side of truth. And they are on the side of fairness. Now look at the election results. Just hang on a moment and look at the election results. Who won Demakam? Who won Michelle Camp? Who won the police barracks? That should tell you something. And that should tell you that policemen and women, soldiers and so on, members of the security forces are not enemies of democracy, but friends of the broad democratic movement. And that if they are called upon, they would act in good conscience and they would act to uphold the dignity of the institutions. You know something? Me, sitting here today, I do not want any unconstitutional disruption of our governance system. Because I've seen it before. I've seen what happened to our mothers and sisters who were stripped naked and whipped on the streets. I don't want that to happen again. I know that at a certain time in our history, 246 people simply disappeared. I don't want that to happen again. I live under curfew, 6 to 6. I don't want that to happen again. I want all of us to work together to build a peaceful and democratic society. A society in which no child will go to bed on an empty stomach. I want all of us to build that peaceful and democratic society in which our leaders do not prescribe for our children free SHS and send their children abroad to school. I want to have that situation where under Nkrumah, all his ministers send their children to the same public schools that the farmer sent his children to. That's the kind of society I want to see built. But you see, those who think that they can create a militia whose members wear police uniforms and military uniforms and wear earrings and wear Osama bin Laden kind of beards. Those who think that they can intimidate us with those hooligans and rascals must begin to think again. I spent some time with Field Marshal Matumbe, who was a commander of the Mau Mau movement in Kenya. And I had a long conversation lasting 1 week with her in Nairobi. And I learned important lessons. Even the British Army, whose navy was supposed to rule the waves, could not defeat the Mau Mau movement. And Jomo Kenyatta eventually became the president of Kenya. Sergeant Ajete was shot. Corporal Atipo was shot. It did not prevent the success of the independence movement, leading to the declaration of Ghana as an independent state on 6 March 1957. This must be important lessons for those who are in the mistaken belief that they can frighten us. Nobody can frighten us, and we will not be afraid of anybody. We want to do the best for our country. We want to avoid chaos. We want to build a prosperous country. We want to build a democratic country. But we will not do it under the threats of violence and guns. We will not do that. And indeed, they must know that there are so many people in this country who don't fear death. Our history is there. In Ashanti, Yara Santua took up the weapon to defend the Ashanti Empire against the British Empire. Yara Santua's history is there. We have seen many of our leaders in the past and in the present who stand up for the truth and who cannot be intimidated. Let not these little minds, let not this fickle human beings and so get it into their heads that when they fire a few shots, all of us will take cover. We will not take cover. Let them not get it into their heads that if they succeed in burning the house of Lieutenant Kenneth Bebrolate, all of us are diving for cover. We ain't diving for cover. Let them get it into their heads that the more they burn and the more they kill, the more energized we will become, the stronger we will become, and the resistance will continue until the truth about this election is firmly established. NPP has misgivings. NDC has misgivings. The Electoral Commission itself is not happy about the results it declared. Who am I to say that everything is nice and fine? It is not nice and it is not fine. It cannot be nice and it cannot be fine. In any case, you know, these are the people who claim that they are the biggest lawyers of our time and so on. And yet it appears that when they are reading the Constitution, they read it upside down. They should put on their lessons and read the Constitution in its proper place. If you read the Constitution, the right to demonstrate is an unfettered right. There is no fetter to the right to demonstrate in the Constitution. The fetters were introduced by an inferior law. A law which Parliament brought about. And Parliament cannot bring about laws which are superior to the provisions of the 1992 Constitution. It's clear. So they should read their law well. If they read their law well, they will not be making some of the statements they are making today, which make them look like... Once I finish.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Pratt.